Happy Valley New Year. Finally, Sally Wainwright's multi-BAFTA-winning Northern Noir has returned for its long-awaited third and final series. If you wanted your Hogmanay hangover eased by some gentle viewing, this probably wasn't it. Here's your full recap of a blistering comeback episode. It's more than 6 years since we visited West Yorkshire's drug-ravaged, poverty-ridden Calder Valley, so that 2-minute catch-up montage was most welcome. The headlines: since her teen daughter Becky took her own life, Police Sergeant Catherine Cawood, the mighty Sarah Lancashire, and her sister, recovering heroin addict Claire, Siobhan Finneran, had brought up Becky's son, Ryan Rice-Khanna, the product of her rape by Tommy Lee Royce, a star making scary turn from James Norton. When Catherine heard that Royce was out of prison in Series 1, she hunted down her nemesis, unaware he was involved in the kidnapping of Anne Gallagher, Charlie Murphy. Despite a near-fatal beating by Royce, she rescued Anne, saved Ryan from his clutches, and the thug was imprisoned again, this time receiving multiple life sentences for murder. He was forbidden from any contact with Ryan, but in Series 2, from behind bars, Royce used a prison groupie to pose as Ryan's teaching assistant, groom his biological son, and exact revenge on Catherine. We ended with Ryan increasingly worrying his family by asking about his father, suggesting that he should be forgiven, and Catherine fearing that Ryan had inherited some of Royce's psychopathic traits. And that brings us up to speed. Cue Troubletown by Jake Bugg, and bring on the trilogy's final chapter. We rejoined Miss Trunchbull, as she's semi-affectionately nicknamed by her station co-workers, at the wheel of her squad car, dispensing trademark sarcastic wisdom to colleagues on the radio. She was dispatched to a drained reservoir where a skeleton had been discovered. Catherine swiftly deduced that it was the dumped remains of Gary Bogowski, who was executed by Gangland Associates and buried in concrete 8 years ago. She ran rings around patronizing DSI Andy Shepard, Vincent Franklin, and his sexist sidekick with her encyclopedic knowledge of local ne'er-do-wells. "I'll leave it with you," she said, squelching off through the mud. "Twats. Welcome back to one of TV's most indelible characters." After 30 years at the coalface of crime, the stubborn sheriff of Hebden Bridge was due to retire in 7 months, 1 week and 3 days. She was in denial about having a leaving party, despite the efforts of long-suffering colleague Joyce. Ishia Benison was doing up a Land Rover, planning to drive to the Himalayas and start her second act. A screen cop on the verge of retirement. What could possibly go wrong? The evidence trail led straight to Tommy, as trouble tends to. Still banged up, he was working a Jesus meets Charles Manson look with an unsightly forehead scar from a recent altercation, but as preeningly vain as ever with the same chillingly childlike demeanor. In his cell, a photo of Ryan had pride of place. Halifax detectives arrived and carted him off to be questioned about Bogowski's 2014 murder. Clad in a green and yellow boiler suit, Royce cockily denied all knowledge. However, he boasted to another inmate and the prison chaplain that he'd witnessed the murder and helped dispose of the victim. His Christopher necklace had been found with the body. What's more, Bogowski had been shot with the same 9mm Glock used in the murder of Royce's criminal boss, Ashley Cowgill, Joe Armstrong, in Series 1, prime suspects for that crime. Local crime kingpins Darius Nezevic and his brother, who ran a drug-running and people-trafficking operation. As Catherine put it, New Jersey has the Sopranos. Halifax has the Nezevices. Darius had since distanced himself from dirty work and was running for election to Bradford City Council. Shepard salivated at the prospect of nailing him for double murder, especially after hearing that Nezevic had ordered Royce killed for his silence, but the hit had failed, hence that forehead scar. Bang to rights, Royce now had motivation to grass. He made a statement admitting they were only supposed to scare Bogowski, but that it had escalated. Who pulled the trigger? Not Nezevic, he claimed, but rival gangster Chris Oxley, who runs Oldham. Back in the police van, Royce smirked. He was plotting something. His schemes rarely end well. 6 months later, retirement now 5 weeks away, Catherine's grandson Ryan was playing in goal for the school football team. Now an angsty teen, he was cheered on by the touchline trio of Catherine, Claire and her boyfriend, Neil, Con O'Neill. a fellow recovering alcoholic but stable enough to build a long-term relationship and have Claire move in with him. As the team lost 6-0 and Ryan gave his defense the hairdryer treatment, PE teacher Rob Hepworth, Mark Stanley, called him a little shit stain.